All right, welcome to Happy Hour Holidaze. This is your host, Manny Febre. We got Sean Febre every week here hosting Happy Hour Holidaze. Holidazers, thank you for tuning in. And all the audience.
Sound a little bit more enthusiastic, bro.
Sorry, I got hit by a car this morning. I'm just a little upset because Ben and Sean beat us at golf last time, and it still stings every time I look at Ben.
It happened.
So it was the press. So I'm not feeling too bad, but it is a loss. So I'm a little down about that. Then I didn't win any money yesterday, so I'm really pissed off after shooting a 41 on the front and still not getting shit on the quota. But anyways, we got Ben Stranzl in the building, repeat offender of the show.
Happy to be here. Especially after that great victory last week.
Oh, fuck you. I put you down for a 5, though. That was the worst. But I did get a new putter, so I feel like it's going to help me out next time I do get invited out
I
there.
thought you said you wouldn't be able to buy groceries and you bought a putter?
Yeah, well, you know.
Priorities, man.
Priorities.
Priorities.
You know, this is more important. I told my wife, listen, he's chubby enough where he can last at least a couple weeks.
Are you talking about your kid?
Yeah.
And break it down. The putter might make you money, buy more groceries. If you fuck up.
Exactly. There
It's
you go.
possible.
Makes sense.
It's possible.
So-
Unlikely, but possible.
But I don't want to go to dinner with Ben or my brother anytime soon because I don't want to buy the Pappy Van Winkle bottle.
Forgot that's what it was.
Which, it's going to be pretty expensive. So, Christian, I'm going to act like I'm going to show up that day, and it's on you.
Well, Christian
So-
didn't show last time. So.
Yeah, I know. We had a replacement for you, and if you don't show up this time, you're absolutely out of it. And on the golf, Christian. So, Ben, you do a lot of small business, work in law, and then you have a lot of a big portion of very popular restaurants and bars that you represent. Going into just service industry, because I feel like that's where they have a lot of the non-competes. This announcement by the FTC announcing that they weren't going to enforce non-competes federally, how's that going to affect a lot of small businesses?
Well, speaking as to the state of Florida here, I mean, it's still a big question mark out there in light of the recent announcement by the FTC. So the question is, will the state of Florida still be able to enforce a non-compete agreement between two businesses or two people or a business and a person here in the state of Florida? And in my opinion, obviously there's no exact announcement on this from the state of Florida. It hasn't been addressed as far as I can tell by the Florida Supreme Court or by any other entity in the state of Florida that would, have any kind of say. But I believe that the state of Florida, business to business, they'll still enforce all of these non-competes and restrictive covenant agreements within the state of Florida. The caveat being to that is that it's business to business within the state of Florida. As soon as you start trying to enforce against an out-of-state business or an out-of-state employee, for instance, if one of your employees leaves and goes and works for a competitor in the state of Georgia, now you've crossed state lines. That makes it potentially a federal issue, and I think that the federal law will come in. And honestly, I think that they would not enforce it at that point. So I think the state of Florida's statutes on restrictive covenants and non-competes are very clear. They are enforced strictly here in the state of Florida if they're written correctly. So, if you can't have them too wide in an area, you can't have too ambiguous of a geographic region. You got to have a legitimate business interest in order to write these and enforce them. But as of now, I think that the state of Florida is going to continue to enforce them. Now, it is a question mark, especially for employers. I haven't recommended for any of my businesses yet necessarily trying to redraft their employment agreements or any of their non-competes or other restrictive covenants as of yet. That may change as we hear more. This is just a recent announcement. Yeah. But I was discussing this with one of my business partners the other day, and he was thinking that the state of Florida would follow the FTC, but I liken it to just because the federal government makes a law or chooses not to enforce the law doesn't mean the states have to. Best example of that I can think of that everybody can relate to is marijuana. Yeah. Marijuana is illegal on a federal level. And if for some reason you're in the state of California where it's legal and you get caught by a federal agent, you can go down. Or if you're at the airport, there you go. It's federal land in the state of California, you're going down. But if you're caught by local authorities in California, it's perfectly legal. You don't have to worry. So states don't have to have the same laws as the federal government. There are certain situations where they do, where they have to be the same, and then certain areas where they don't. And in my opinion, this is an area where as long as it's a state issue, it can remain within the states.
Can you tell us why is it that state law supersedes federal law in some cases?
I wouldn't say it supersedes. I would say it comes down to who's enforcing it. So you have the Commerce Clause that would apply state laws between states, and therefore, to some extent, federal law would apply within that situation. But a state is allowed, and part of the beauty of our Constitution is that each state's allowed to have its own laws as long as they don't directly conflict with certain areas of federal law. Now, that's not every area.
Would the marijuana be an example of where it does directly conflict with federal law?
It does, and that's why if you get caught by a federal agency with marijuana, it doesn't matter if the state law said it's legal. You're going down.
So by federal agency,
so if
you mean
FBI,
like DEA,
FBI, if one of those entities found you with marijuana in a state where that marijuana was legal, you're still going down. It's a federal crime. Okay. But if a state trooper caught you in that same situation, you're not going down. Now, some laws, you have to be in compliance with the federal law. And it really, there's no exact standard to it. And quite frankly, we've learned about it in law school is very ambiguous as to what it is, what it isn't. But I'm a big believer in the states' rights, and you're seeing it with the abortion laws right now. And I'm not saying I'm a fan of that or one way or the other. I'm saying you're seeing states in putting different laws in place, compared to each other. And the thought process behind it from a constitutional perspective was if you don't like the laws in your state, you can get up and move to the next state. You can pick any of the other 49 and go to the one that you want. And that's a great thing about this country. And you don't have that in a lot of other countries.
Yeah.
If you don't like the marijuana law in your state, go somewhere where you do.
So if somebody was arrested for marijuana, and I know you're not a criminal trial attorney, but if someone did get arrested for marijuana by, say, the DEA, and it wasn't really large quantities for mass distribution, would there actually be a defense there? Stating, something? No,
you're not just stating that you were in the state. Now, I did relatively around the time of the FTC came out with the non-compete statement. The Biden administration came out with an announcement that it is their plan to lower marijuana on the federal drug schedule.
Yes,
I think you'll see over the next 4 to 6 years, you'll see that come down to where small amounts are no longer illegal. And
I say just get rid of it.
Do you think federally
I think to some extent, I think some of the problem is you're seeing,
Is it going to be on this election? An amendment on this election
in
to
Florida,
make it
in Florida, it's going to be.
Oh, I thought it was for the entire United States.
No,
it's not federal.
That's not an election. That's not something that we vote on. That's something that we could try and pass an amendment to make it legal. But that's up to the federal government. Yeah, that's up to Congress. That's up to the president can actually do it, lower on the schedule. I think that will happen over the next few years. I think that one of the concerns with the larger amounts and stuff like that is, the drugs these days are getting laced with everything, fentanyl and everything like that. So I think there still needs to be some level of regulation that you can't just have people walking around with pounds of marijuana.
And that actually, you're right. And that's because it's unregulated. It's not legal. So it's getting into this country illegally. It's in some parts, right? Because some states are legal and they have dispensary and shit like that. So, I mean, if the government had some oversight, that wouldn't happen, which is more of a point to actually legalize marijuana as opposed to...
you could tax it.
Then you could tax it, yeah.
I'm for legalizing it because you can tax it, you can profit off of it, and you can regulate it even closer, and you can see it. And I'm usually not for the regulations. I'm more for being open. But
I mean,
if people are doing it anyway, it's happening. It's not going to stop. Then let's regulate it. Let's regulate it. Let's follow it like they do with alcohol. They trace every drop of alcohol in this country is traced one way or the other.
No shit.
Whether it be beer, wine, liquor, when they manufacture or distill or they have to report how much did they make, how much did they sell, who did they sell it to, and then the government takes their tax on it, and federal government and the state. You got both. You got the federal TTB and then you got the state DPPR.
You could say that alcohol probably kills more people. Not probably.
I don't think it's a problem.
Yeah.
I don't even think it's a question.
Yeah. So I mean, if we're able to,
how many people OD off weed?
I mean,
zero.
Exactly.
Actually, some of the interesting reports coming out right now that I find fascinating is the wrong word here, but very interesting to me is the vapes. Now they're coming out with the research on how bad these vapes are.
They're horrible.
And when they came out, it was, this is a
good
cigarette alternative, is a marijuana alternative. This is a better, healthier way. All wrong.
Yeah.
It was all wrong.
Way
Everything
worse.
they said was wrong, and it's way worse, and they're very addictive. And you have all these teens who have fallen to it and say, oh, well, this is healthier. I'll do this. And now they're stuck.
And you know what? I switched from cigarettes to vaping, and for like one day, I started coughing up blood. I was like, you know what? Fuck this. I'm just going to stick with the old-fashioned tobacco arsenic roll, cancer stick.
I'm more of a cigar guy if I'm going to smoke, but listen, it's just I think the point is we never understand fully what the health benefits are or aren't. We learn more and more about these things. There was truly a point where we thought vaping was healthy.
Yeah.
Not healthy, but healthier.
Yeah. And then there was also a point where we thought COVID vaccines were actually vaccines and not just like a flu shot.
Yeah, who knows what they are, but they're not something that it's not a cure.
Yeah.
I think of vaccine as cure.
Yeah.
This was a preventative measure to some extent. And we didn't get it for our kids.
Can they be
I was nervous about that.
Can they be advertised as vaccines legally if they don't vaccinate?
I think you come down to ambiguous rules there of what is the
pharma.
definition of a vaccine. I actually had looked into that and stuff like that. And, it's very open. It's very
gray.
Yeah.
I think it's just tough to trust something that hasn't had trial and error for such a short period of time with the vaccines when they first came out. I know.
My personal thoughts on that were I went and got it because I put enough stuff in my body over the years that who I say this is good or bad. I don't know. I'm not a doctor.
That's true.
But, I'm a big believer. If you got a doctor, it should be someone you trust, someone you listen to. So we went to my kid's doctor and said, hey, should we get this vaccine for our kids? What are your thoughts? He's like, well, they had COVID, and at that time they had it. He goes, were they sick? No, they didn't have a single symptom, not one thing. They didn't even know it. The only reason we got them tested is because I had it. Yeah. And he goes, no, then don't. Why would you put anything in their body that you don't know enough about?
Yeah.
If there's no negative reaction to the COVID, and they've had it multiple times, didn't even know they had it. They were not sick. So
I never had it. I was lucky.
You're one of the few, man.
I had it. I had it pretty bad on the coughing part of it, man. It was a little rough.
Listen, I went down. I had it 2 times, and both times I just zero energy.
Yeah,
couldn't eat and had zero energy. And I, how I knew I had it both times?
Oh.
Came home and didn't want a beer. Something was wrong. Something wrong. The radar was going off. I'm like, what is this weird feeling?
I want to be sober.
Honey, here's your medicine. I don't want it today. Okay, there's something wrong. Let's check
I don't feel like going to the golf course and drinking a beer today. I was like, just got to get checked. Got to go.
That's fucking great.
So, self-diagnosis right there.
Did you guys see the report where Trump says that crypto could possibly help us with the national debt?
I would say legalizing marijuana could help us with the national debt.
Yeah,
but how did he say crypto can?
I don't know exactly.
They just hit delete. Yeah, listen, national debt's out of control.
Yeah. 34 trillion. Right?
I don't know the answer to that because how do you come back from 34 trillion? There's not, our annual revenue is nowhere near that. So the only way to do it is cut spending and increase taxes. Neither one of which is favorable or popular.
So there's a study that came out that says the entire world is $315 trillion in debt. The entire world, $315 trillion.
What I don't understand about that is that's one side of the books. Who's got the other side?
Exactly.
Of that?
Who's the holder?
Let's talk to those guys.
The Fed, right? The Federal Reserve, the central bank.
Yeah, they just print money when they want to, man. I read the other day that we've printed more money in the last something like 5 years or something from the COVID point. We've printed more money than we had in the last 100 years, in the last 5 years.
That makes sense.
And, that's why we're seeing inflation like we are. It's out of control. And, people talk about, inflation's not as bad as it was. Go to the grocery store.
Yeah, that's what
I restaurant. I remember when 10 years ago, you go to a restaurant and you could have 2 beers and a meal with your wife and stuff like that. It was
for a nickel.
$50. And that was expensive.
More like $20.
Yeah. It's just, and now I can't go to a restaurant with my kids and have 1 beer and my wife have 1 beer and be out of there under $100. It's not possible.
That's why I can't go to the restaurant that day for the pappy. I just can't do it.
You made it bad. You got to live the day.
Christian, help us.
You can tell us no food if you want, but
you got to be honorable, man. Well, it was only for the drinks.
It was only for the drinks.
Pre-dinner drinks. Yeah.
So there's 2 people on this side when it comes to sending so much money to other countries or let's just say Ukraine. What's your opinion on that, Ben? As far as do we send that much money because we need to control that territory so Russia doesn't take it over, or are there special interest in there and that's why they're probably sending it to get a kickback? What's your take on that?
What an interesting subject. And I usually try and refrain from giving too much an opinion on things I don't understand.
Yeah.
And I don't, but I'm still going to.
Yeah, we don't have enough information.
We're here today to talk.
Yeah.
So we don't know enough about
opinion, your opinion.
From a political standpoint, I think that, I'd rather see the money spent here on our homeless, on our youth education. Our education system is just a mess. Put guns. It sucks that we have guns out there that kill people and everything like that, but they're there. There's nothing we can do about it now. Put a guard in every school. You take that money that we put in Ukraine, you could fix homelessness and you could fix a lot of issues with school safety and everything like that.
And with veterans too.
And that's just a whole different subject to me. No veteran should be coming back here after they fought and were injured and
they're
living on the
homeless.
street.
Yeah.
But the other side to that is too, especially the war in Ukraine, instability in the world is instability over here. And the more unstable regions get, the more we're going to eventually have to get involved, because that starts to affect our markets, starts to affect the income in this country. It starts to affect a lot of things on a global standpoint that could have a major catastrophic effect. If markets crash because of a war, markets come up eventually during war, but at the beginning of war, they usually crash.
How long's that war been going on?
It's been going on for a while over there.
It's 2021?
I actually think, since 2021.
I mean, all the nightclubs they're building and the yachts?
Yeah, exactly.
I also read about, the money we're going over there, that never actually touches Ukrainian hands. That goes to defense contractors right here. Then we take the tax off what we give to the defense contractors. We're actually making.
So you don't think Zelensky's getting a little bit of
I think he's getting some money. I'm telling you what I read. I
heard he bought like 4 or 5 yachts.
That guy was a comedian, and now he's a president, and now he's somehow super rich.
Yeah.
My biggest question mark in this country is, how do we have lifetime politicians who became super rich?
Yes, bro.
Nancy Pelosi being number one on that list. How is it that she's been in Congress for 40 years, making $300,000 a year at the climax?
And she's worth like $100 million.
No, it's like $200 million.
That's why
somebody explain that one to me.
The system,
and you know what? They say that her husband makes all the trades.
Oh yeah, who tells him where to make
Exactly.
I'm sorry. If it smells bad, it's usually something going on.
If she sees a bill in the pipeline that nobody knows about, right? And she was like, "Yo, these people are about to get a huge contract because we're about to pass this massive defense contracting bill. You should probably, traded them."
And you can't prove it that she did it because it's spousal privilege. Neither one ever has to testify to what the other one said.
As long as it's not on paper.
Like, hey, imagine if you bought this stock. I don't know if it's going to be good or not, but maybe. And then it just, turn it. So going back to the Ukrainian point, and the money going to Israel and stuff like that too. It's like, listen, if I can't say whether I'm for or against it because I don't know enough about it, but if it helps to settle instability, that can be a good thing. If it doesn't, then I'd rather spend it over here.
Yeah, and I agree. I mean, my take's I know we got to control territories because it could put us out of balance, but at the same time, there's a lot going on here that we need to solve. When we get back with Happy Hour Holidays, we'll talk a little bit about the school systems and get Ben's take on, is this system still working, or are we just producing a bunch of people that just work for their money? We need people that are innovators. We'll be right back. And we're back to Happy Hour Holidays with a little bit of enthusiasm in this start back
go.
here.
It's
We
back.
go. Sorry, I'm just, I got a little tipsy over here.
He's drunk on Heineken Zeros.
They actually have 0.5.
0.5. No, this one actually has literally 0.
Unbelievable.
The one that I take at, the one at Hunter's Green that was Athletic, or Bush and Ace, they're
And also
0.5. So after 20 of them, I'm feeling a little bit better.
I've seen it.
I've seen it. I'm starting to get all the Zambuca because it's got like a little bit more than the. But I wanted to kind of get your take on. We were talking with BG Brian Gordon, who's got the Second Amendment cigars. Shout out to him.
Brian. Yeah.
But we were talking about the school systems and are they really effective in this time? I mean, you got to think about a couple things that I kind of want to touch on. It's really the school systems, and then also the whole politic system. Is it working? Like, things evolve as, life evolves. So are these two things really working hand in hand? Let's start off with the school. I mean, are they really teaching
life lessons.
Are they really teaching kids what they need to learn to be prepared in life? Because I can tell you right now, there isn't one damn thing besides basic math and maybe reading and writing and comprehension
you don't even need
that I
anymore.
fucking use on a daily basis. All the rest of it was a waste of time.
Well, now with ChatGPT, you really don't even need to know those
Exactly.
things.
So as the world evolves, is our school system outdated?
I'm not a fan of the direction our schools are going, and that's for sure.
Yeah.
I was raised by two teachers too. One high school teacher.
Really?
My dad was high school science teacher, and my mom taught disabled children and stuff. So I grew up in a household that was a big supporter of public school systems. I'm a big supporter of public school systems. I'm not wild about the angle they're going. I don't like the politics in schools. That's number one, and it shouldn't be politics either way. It should be no politics.
Yeah, exactly.
It should be teaching kids to freely think, and they do have to evolve. They can't teach the same way they did, and they can't present things the same way they did when we were kids or when my parents were kids and stuff like that. But it's not just about what you learn in the classroom. Schools are about teaching kids to be social, to develop on a social level, to learn to think on their own, to think outside the box. And I think that we've had such a political influence in our schools, and that's kind of blinded the system from teaching what we need to be teaching. Math, math is not going anywhere. Yeah. Math is everything. Reading, I read that there wasn't one proficient student in the Baltimore County public schools that passed reading and math and reading proficiency at their grade level. Not one. So, what are we doing here? What's the goal of the system? And then when you get into colleges, it's even more, the college system is broken, in my opinion.
I think so too, man. It's just, we're reiterating exactly what we learned for 18 years.
And we're charging an arm and a leg. Literally, if I could go back, I'd rather give up a kidney than pay what I did, to go to college.
How much did you pay?
A lot. My student loan debt is over $100,000.
Still?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah. It was go to law school and take out student loans, or don't go to law school.
And how much for a semester at law school back when you went?
$30,000.
For a semester?
For a year.
Oh, for a year? Oh, that's not
so $15,000. But you're talking 3 years. It was $90,000, and I wasn't paying on the loans during law school because I couldn't afford that. Yeah. And then I had some, not many, but some undergraduate loans. So, it's a difficult process, and kids, it's a decision. Do I do it or do I not? And the big decision for me right now is, do I save for my kids' college or do I not? Because no matter what I say, we got 529s for them right now. We put a ton of money in every month. It's not going to be enough. Florida prepaid, great. It's not going to be enough. And that's if my kids want to go to school in Florida.
Yeah.
Well, what happens if they don't choose to go to school? Do you get that money back or do you give it to them?
Well, I would get it back, and then it's my decision to give it to them or not. So I guess it would depend on what they chose.
Would you?
It depends on what they chose. If my son chose to be a loser on the couch,
here you go. I want to play Fortnite. I know,
but yeah, you can make money playing Fortnite now, though, man. So guys making a lot of money.
True.
But would it be worth, like, instead of doing the Florida prepaid or any of these programs, would it be worth just putting in money in, let's say, the QQQ or something like that, and just tossing money in there and getting a good return? And maybe they still have, because at that point, like you were saying, you don't know if they're going to want to go to college. There's so many avenues in this this day and age to make money. College is not a necessity.
You're almost better off buying them a house.
Yeah, I would.
Let me put that $30,000 I got to save for you by the time you're 10 years old. Let me buy a house. Make a down payment on a house with it. Rent it out for the next 20 years. Yeah. And then guess what? When you're 25, 26 years old, now you got a $400,000 or $500,000 house.
I like that idea. What did you call that plan that you had the money in for your kids?
529.
So does the 529 have compound interest?
It does. And 529s help to grow the money, and you can pull money out tax-free for your kids to go to college and stuff like that. Now, if they don't, it's different. Florida prepaid is a version of the 529. 529 is a federal tax.
I heard you lock in residence rates the year you started. Is that true?
For Florida prepaid.
For Florida prepaid.
So
Florida 529 does not do that.
So 529 is the advantages are by state. So actually, we had a financial advisor I think my son's 529 is in like Minnesota, and my daughter's is like New Hampshire.
What?
It different rules that they have at different times.
You're already sending them away?
No, that's just where the money's. That's just their 529 plan. Yeah. So, I mean, hopefully my kids go to college. My son's interested in the military. I'm a huge military supporter. I didn't go in the military. Wish I had.
That was
How old are your kids again? 10 and 11?
I got a 10-year-old son and a 9-year-old girl.
At 10 years old, he already wants to be in the military?
I don't know if he wants to. He's just interested in the military. He likes reading about the military. He likes talking to me about
Does he play Call of Duty?
He does play Call of
There
Duty.
you go. That's what it is,
That's all I got kind of
Hey, if getting my kid to play Call of Duty gets him into the military someday and he goes and fights for our country, I'll be very proud.
Oh, hell yeah. But you'll probably want him to go to ROTC first, become an officer instead
Go
of
to
a
West
grunt.
Point, go to Naval Academy.
Put him in the Air Force, bro.
Yep, there you go.
There you go.
Marine Corps or Coast Guard. My boss's partner just joined my boss's son just graduated college and joined the Coast Guard.
Like partial time or full time?
Full time Coast Guard.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, he's going into officer training. Yeah. So
that's crazy, man. Coast Guard would be pretty crazy. I mean,
did you see that movie with Kevin Costner and
I
Ashton
remember
Kutcher?
Ashton Kutcher, yeah.
I forget what it's called.
Yeah, that one was kind of nuts.
It's called I forget, but I know what you're talking about.
The Coast Guard is no joke, man.
Yeah.
They're
Dude,
they're
they
literally flying in fucking hurricane winds.
They're
to
going into
save
the worst
people.
shit to save people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and a lot of people they downplay Coast Guard, but people in the Coast Guard they put their lives at risk against Mother Nature.
And guess what? We get attacked over here. I guess
They're the
Coast
ones
Guard's
that are
gonna be
there.
man.
Yeah.
So although
I doubt
no
we'll
one's
get
fucking
attacked.
attacking us
Yeah.
over here. So. But yeah, I
Good
actually
luck, North Korea.
I actually sit on the board of directors for the U.S. Naval Sea Cadets.
Okay.
And that's a youth organization where they help develop youth and everything like that up into not military standards, and it's not military based, although it's run by the U.S. Navy, but they just help. They got a couple Tampa divisions. They help not just troubled youth, but any youth who's looking for discipline and character growth and everything like that. So I think military is great. I think what it teaches kids
For
is
certain
great.
individuals, I would say.
It's not for everybody.
Yeah, it's
not for
not for
everybody.
but it does. I mean, discipline. I mean, I was with you right there, Ben. I was literally going.
Spiraling out of control.
I was literally
Smoking
about to
weed.
sign on the dotted line to join the Marines because this guy would come in all the time, and we were talking about it with Brian Gordon last episode too. I was like, man, I really wanted to do
Who was
it.
in the Marines? Thank you for your service.
Yeah,
again.
but I was like, if my parents weren't Spanish and they weren't like, you're gonna die. I was like,
You know what? I mean, it was during the Iraq War.
It was during the
So
Iraqi
you would
War.
have literally been deployed to the Middle East.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I was like, that's what I wanted to do. And I felt like I lost a little piece there by not going.
I almost went to West Point. I got into West Point. I got the Senate approval and congressional approval to go to West Point to play golf. They didn't want me as a military guy.
Oh, God. I was like, what the fuck?
I mean, I would have. So I went on an official visit up there and stayed.
What's your handicap again?
A 1.
A
It was
1.0?
Yeah, it was.
We're going to have to look this up real quick.
My handicap at Hunter's Green. My index is 1.2.
So you were
he
really-
lied.
No, my handicap at Hunter's Green is a 1.0.
But you were literally going to go to play golf?
Yeah, so I
That
went
would've
on
been
I went on
awesome.
an official
How
visit up
the
there.
fuck does that even work?
They got an awesome golf course up
No,
there.
no,
but-
but
No,
you're
they got
not
a
in the
team?
military, though.
You are? No, you are. And you would have had to do all the things that the other students do, all the other plebes do, and play golf. So they got, I mean, think about
But
it.
all
They
you
got a
would've done-
football team. They got a football team. They got a
All you would
wrestling
have done
team.
was play golf, though.
No, I would have done it.
You
I would have had to do
had
all
to
the
go
other
to
things.
school?
No. I'm saying, like, you can't be deployed?
Oh, I would have been deployed as soon
Oh,
as
okay.
that was one. I
okay.
would have been deployed. So in 2006, I would have had to go for 5 years. And it was one of the worst decisions of my life. I went and stayed in the barracks, ate in the food hall, which at West Point's unbelievable.
So you did do
Went
it?
to a football game, and then I decided not to go because you know what they don't have there? Women.
Oh, yeah.
Wait,
like-
I thought West Point was
They
a
got
co-ed.
like 3% women. It is co-ed. It's just
No women. Yeah.
Yeah, and so my other visits were to Delaware and Rutgers, full of women, NYU. So, it was a bad decision. My dad's like, "You're an idiot." He's like, you go to West Point, you're set. You're coming out an officer, you're set. And I was like, I didn't understand it. Wish I did.
Yeah, and some officers, like top tier, they make like
Doesn't matter.
250 to 500K.
And not
I
just
think-
that.
I think
you look
you
at
mean-
their
Their-
tax benefits are fantastic, but they also get housing stipends. They
Yep.
get travel stipends.
I still think you made a good decision. You're a
Oh,
fucking
I'm happy as
attorney.
hell
Yeah.
in life. I'm just saying you never.
You're a name partner.
Sometimes I like to look at the road not taken.
Yeah. No, I do. I look at
Spectre
that.
lit.
I do look at
What a
that
great
too.
show.
Yeah,
What a great show.
Suits. Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of my
The
favorites.
spin-off's coming out.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. They're never as good.
Yeah.
Well,
that's
I
good.
heard it was nobody from the original except maybe Jessica, but I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I know Mike's not in there, and neither's Harvey.
One of my favorite lawyer shows actually is Better Call Saul.
I have
I've
not
never
seen
seen
that
that
one.
Well, have you seen Breaking Bad?
I've heard of Better
No,
Call Saul.
I haven't seen that one
No,
either.
Breaking Bad's fantastic.
I don't want to
Yes.
get nightmares.
I never saw Breaking Bad either.
Well, it's not gonna get nightmares from Breaking Bad.
No, Breaking Bad is
they're
just
meth
a-
dealers.
yeah, meth dealers,
They're
exactly.
meth
Yeah.
dealers with the Mexican cartel. But Breaking Bad is or Better Call Saul is a spinoff because he's the lawyer for the guys in Breaking Bad.
Oh, really?
And then the show shows how he became their lawyer. Like it starts like 6 years before Breaking Bad. You actually see some of the Breaking Bad characters come into the show.
So it was like a prequel.
Yeah, but it's pretty cool.
And I know it was on TV. What the fuck
It
channel?
was. You watch
on
it now
TNT
on
or some shit.
Better Call Saul's on Netflix, and so is Breaking Bad.
Oh, really?
Both of those are on Netflix.
The only reason I didn't want to watch Breaking Bad is because of the main actor. I never.
You were going to start dealing meth afterward?
Oh,
this guy can do it.
Yeah, this guy can do it.
What do you mean start dealing? Man? I've already have.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Allegedly. Not to admit that on a podcast.
So going.
Oh wait, no. Now transitioning to Congress.
Yeah, no, the other system.
The other system. Because if we have our president that can only run for 8 years or serve for 8 years, why the fuck do we have congressmen and senators able to have infinite terms as long as they're reelected? So that makes no sense.
So what you're talking about is term limits, whether we should have term limits.
And how the fuck didn't the founding fathers think about this?
Well, and I'd have to look at my research on this one, but I do not believe that the 8-year max for president was ever in the Constitution. That's something that Washington set forth after.
Oh yeah, that's right. You're
that
correct.
came out afterwards. So they never thought about it. They believed, founding fathers believed that term limits, which is what you're talking about, were the same thing as elections. If the people didn't want them in, they vote them out. And that was effectively a term limit. And then Washington, being the honorable guy that he was, actually stepped down.
And that was actually not even in the Constitution or an amendment until like what?
Later.
1900s.
It was the early. It was like 18. I think it was in the 1800s or something.
Was it in the 1800s? Okay. Or I thought that happened with Teddy Roosevelt.
Well, yeah, no, it actually is in 1900. Not Teddy, Franklin D.
During World War II.
He died in his fourth term.
Yeah. That was
after that it came in.
Yeah. And then that was in the 1950s.
Although Teddy Roosevelt was pretty cool too, though.
No, he was a trust buster, man. Yeah, he did my boy John D. Rockefeller dirty, man.
Yeah, but he wore the hat and rode the horse, so you know.
Yeah, well, he was a Rough Rider.
Yeah, Rockefeller, man, that's an interesting one. You ever read about that? He took over.
You've read his. We've read his autobiography.
Andrew Carnegie.
Carnegie. Well, Rockefeller, they say
he started with steamboats.
If he was alive today and had his money today, it'd be worth like $800 billion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He'd be the richest man in the world. Although there was an African leader who actually would be worth almost $1 trillion. I forget, it's like Mamba or something like that.
And what country?
If you took his money, I forget it.
Was it because of oil though?
No, his was gold and everything. He was
natural resources.
I don't even think they had oil when this guy was around. He was like Musa Manta or something like that. His name was. But Rockefeller actually, when they broke up his monopoly, he then went into the universities and started funding these universities and started funding the medical schools.
He was being philanthropic.
Well, he also then invested in a lot of the medical companies that these guys got into. So he was
your
thinking
school.
ahead. Yeah, he was like, "Oh, let me build a medical center for you too, but also I'm going to make some money off that." I mean, that guy was brilliant.
Yeah.
So
you know what he did, right? In order to make all his money, what he did, he'd buy off the smaller companies and just shut them down, and then operate in those areas. But they had what they called a pact, where he would meet with all the other oil companies and they would set the price.
It's called collusion, and it's illegal now.
Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah,
you can't. It's corporate collusion.
But that's how he would drive up prices.
Yep.
And not only that, but he was getting kickbacks from Vanderbilt and in the railroads, and I think
Well, that's how he shipped the oil.
Yeah, that's how, so he would get a rebate.
Yep.
He'd get a rebate, and he would make money on it. He's like, "Yo, I could fill your entire train every single day with all these barrels. You would be making money. You just got to give me like 20% back." Hey.
Good businessman.
Good
businessman. I mean, they made a lot of laws because of him. The monopoly laws. I mean, this guy was vertical monopoly and horizontal monopoly.
Mm-hmm.
So he didn't just buy up all the oil companies. He bought up the shipping companies, the transportation companies, everything like that. Everything that had to do with it in any way. And then they broke him down.
And you know who hated him? Andrew Carnegie. Hated him, bro.
Carnegie Mellon, good school out by Pittsburgh.
So Carnegie at one point, though, was the richest person for a very, very brief time when J.P. Morgan bought out Carnegie Steel to make U.S. Steel.
You ever read about? I'm not a conspiracy theory guy right now, but there's one that I've bid on one, and that's the Titanic one with J.P. Morgan and those guys.
You're talking about how they sank it for the insurance money.
Well, hey, the Federal Reserve started 3 weeks later, and the only guy that opposed the Federal Reserve was on the Titanic, and then they go down to Sea Isle, Georgia.
Wait a second.
3 weeks, 4 weeks later with J.P. Morgan and all these guys, and they start the Federal Reserve.
So they told the captain, "Yo, you're going to hit a fucking iceberg.
I mean, come on.
I don't know how they did it. But the coincidence is so strong, and that's probably the only conspiracy theory out there that I believe in. Although I'm sure there's some other true ones. But.
Who killed Kennedy? Here's another one.
The second man on the grassy knoll.
Shout out, Steve.
Don't know who that was.
Shout out, Steve. We got a buddy of ours who's a lawyer. Also, he's writing a book on it. He never shares the information about it, but he said it on the podcast. He's writing a book. Just he can't tell us what it's about.
It's not about Kennedy?
No, it is.
Oh, okay.
No, yeah, it's about that, but he gives us no details.
Fascinating. You know how much it changed the Secret Service after that?
Audit? No.
Yeah, the Secret Service made a lot of changes. On that was the end of a president riding in a topless car.
Yeah, I heard
that right there.
I heard the Secret Service told him not to do it.
Yeah, well, they did advise him not to do it.
And he was just like, no, they love me. Which a lot of people did.
They did.
But he was a liberal
You only
going
need
through a
one guy not to
conservative
love you.
state.
Yeah,
that's true.
You could have a million that do and one not. So,
I think he was the last president assassinated.
well, he's not the last who was shot, though. Because Reagan was shot.
Oh, really?
I thought someone took a bullet for him.
No, Reagan. I think Reagan was shot.
Oh, shit.
Not he didn't die, obviously.
That's
Pretty
crazy.
sure on that. We'll have to look into that.
With all the fucking crazy
You're
people
right,
there hasn't been any attempts on any presidents.
Well, that we know of. They could have been
Recently.
suppressed, and we just don't know.
Yeah, because intelligence is growing.
Jack Bauer could have been out there taking people out, and we wouldn't know him. Man.
Who the fuck's Jack Bauer?
From 24, you know the show, the show back in the day.
Oh my god, bro!
I mean, that's
You're going early 2000s,
yeah,
man.
early 2000s. Man. That's a very addicting show.
All right. When we get back, we'll ask Ben, what do you think about, is it better for, at this point, is it better for a politician to run the country, or would we rather have a businessman run a country? Who's going to be more effective?
I'm not electing you, Manny. We'll be right back.
And we're back to Happy Hour Holidaze, and we were asking Ben, at this point in time, is it better to have a career politician run the country, or is it better for somebody who runs a multi-billion-dollar, trillion-dollar business?
And to your point, because businessmen have to know how to handle foreign entities, so a foreign entity could be considered a foreign country.
Yeah, I mean,
work alongside those.
I think part of the problem is we've only really seen one businessman come in and run, and that's Trump.
Yeah.
Prior to that, I think Truman was the last businessman before him, and he was a shoe salesman. So
he did a piss poor job, didn't he?
He dropped the bomb over there and ended World War II. I don't know. I don't know if that was good or bad, but so businessman versus a politician, a lifelong politician. I think if I had the preference, I'd take a businessman who recently became a politician. So maybe someone who's only got 8 years in politics and prior to that was running a successful business. I think, having some knowledge of international affairs is important, not just the domestic versus, international businesses, but how do other countries operate? How do they, what are their interests? And understanding these things, it has to be important. I think a great combo would be, probably a short-term politician with a businessman as his chief of staff, with strong influence coming from outside of the political world. I think that Ramaswamy had some great ideas. There were some other businessmen who talked and spoke during a lot of these
primaries.
A lot of the primaries. It was interesting. I think one that was very interesting to me was funding every newborn in the country.
Wait, what?
Giving $10,000 to every newborn in a trust. They can't spend it, but basically getting rid of the 401k and Social Security programs by let's put $10,000 in a trust account for every newborn born. And just let it accrue interest until they're 60. You're talking millions of dollars.
That's a brilliant idea.
Millions of dollars by the time they get there.
Whose
and they
idea
can't touch
was that?
I got to look at the guy. He's my brother actually was the one who put me onto him, and I forget his name at the moment. But he was,
Question is, what happens if the person dies?
Well, actually, they had that solved, and part of that it depended on when they died, what age they died, and at certain ages, it went to part of it would go to family, part of it would go back into the system. Part of it, if they were closer to the 60-year point, more of it would go to the family.
You know what that sounds like? You ever see the movie with Justin Timberlake, In Time?
Yeah. It's a good one. Where they got the little thing on the
Yeah,
arm.
exactly. The 1 year.
So,
And then they're born with the 1 year. Oh, we could really.
do I
use
get a
that
taco
year.
or do I die?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know.
That was a good
But I
concept.
mean, it's kind of the same thing. They're born with that 1 year, and I bet that's where these people got it from.
Hey man,
As soon
two.
as you turn 18, boom, it's yours.
I can only think of two good movies that Justin Timberlake was in. And
In Time is one of them.
In Time.
Oh,
And
and
then
then the
Social
other one-
Network. The Social Network. Yeah.
No, but also the other one, the Alpha Dog, where they kill the kid because they kidnap him.
I don't know this one.
Oh my god, you got to watch it. It's a great movie.
He's not a bad actor, you know.
No,
He's
he's a
pretty good.
decent actor. Yeah. He had to act like he liked.
I wasn't
Britney
into his
Spears.
music, so
Yeah. What do you mean?
Yeah, you were.
Yeah,
you were.
Man, I got people here.
He's like,
People are gonna listen
I'm a
to this.
Backstreet guy.
Honestly, I couldn't tell you if he was NSYNC or Backstreet.
Yeah, you could.
No,
Take
I
a
couldn't.
guess.
Well, I'm going to say NSYNC now.
Okay,
because you
well,
said-
so he knew.
Oh, no, but
He
you
knew.
just said, I'm a Backstreet guy, which
Oh,
I can
okay.
deduce.
You
but-
have very deductive skills there.
Yeah, well, it wasn't hard. It was only two. Yeah, I think my wife would have been into those.
Yeah, I think all the fucking teeny boppers.
Oh, we had
were-
it on TRL Live, bro. You remember watching TRL?
TRL, Total
yeah.
Request
Yeah,
Live.
yeah, with
back
Carson
in-
Daly.
When
Yeah.
MTV played music?
Yes.
Was that the days?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, and for you young kids out there, MTV stands for music television.
Yep.
That's what it stands for. So all these like reality bullshit. I stopped watching MTV after they got rid of TRL.
I used to watch MTV back in when I was in elementary school, and we used to watch music videos before school.
and that's
Wait,
all they
yeah.
would play.
Yeah,
That's
That's
all they would play.
And that's when music videos were actually important. Like, who had
Yeah.
the coolest video? I still remember the Bone Thugs and Harmony video for Crossroads.
Yeah.
Crossroads.
Yeah.
Boom, boom, boom.
To answer the question, though, man, really, I'd want a hybrid businessman politician. Someone who has to understand politics to some extent, has to be able to work with Congress, has to understand how the voting system works, how the laws work, and stuff like that. But
You got to think about it now. Trump's got about 8 years in the political game because he didn't get reelected, but he's still in the political game.
he can do 4 more. And you know what's really interesting to me is
I thought
if
it
he
could
gets
be 8 consecutive.
no,
right?
it's 8 total. So there's been one other. I think it was Grover Cleveland, although don't quote me on that. There's been one other president who was president, then lost, and then became president again. We also had one president who was president and then lost re-election and then went to the Supreme Court.
Who was that?
I forget. It was in the early 1900s. But I think what's really interesting for this country, because there's such a divide on politics right now when it comes to Trump and Biden.
It's an election year. so-
What happens if Trump gets convicted of of a crime and goes to prison?
No, well, he'd appeal it with the Supreme Court, right?
Well, it depends on if it's a state charge or a federal charge.
Well, right now it's a state charge, isn't it?
Some of them. The ones right now with Alvin Bragg are federal charges. The one in Georgia is
What
state
are the federal charges?
election tampering.
Election
Yeah,
tampering
fraud and election tampering. That's what he's on trial for right now.
for fucking what?
Well, they say he paid Stormy Daniels, which, by the way,
How is that
they all-
election
they all do
tampering?
that. But he did it to influence an election.
That makes no sense
and
to
win
me.
the election. What they should be doing is prosecuting her for blackmail because she said, "I'm going to say this unless you pay me." And then he paid her. And look, these guys pay to suppress stuff like this all the time.
Yeah.
The timing of his and what the communications were with Cohen.
Jerry
are all-
Jones has done it.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it shouldn't be illegal to pay someone to shut up.
Yeah.
I don't
Tiger
know.
Woods did
I
it.
get to do it with my money. Yeah, and it still came out.
Yeah.
He obviously didn't pay enough.
I mean, what are you talking about? He paid $500 million to that chick.
Elon?
No, Tiger Woods.
Yeah,
He
her name
also
was
paid-
still Elon.
Elon, yeah.
His wife, though. His wife, right?
It was his wife.
His
yeah.
wife at the time, yeah, but they settled out of court. Here, you get half. You just can never talk about it.
And she still did.
No, she shouldn't have.
She didn't, but she had talked about it beforehand. I mean, she talked about him on Thanksgiving that time with the golf club and the drugs or the medications and whatnot. So
Yeah, medications. That's what they call it.
Did she do that before or after the settlement?
And then his
She
love,
did it before.
And then
Yeah,
his
there
love
you
for
go.
Waffle House.
Waffle House, we'll call it. Yeah.
Waffle House hookers.
So it'll be interesting if Trump can pardon himself from federal charges, but he can't pardon himself from state convictions. He can't do it. He could maybe convince a governor to pardon him. And Georgia, I believe there's a Republican governor there that would probably pardon him. But it's
Yeah,
very
but if he
interesting.
has state convictions, he can appeal the conviction and
Yeah.
take it to the Supreme Court, right?
Um,
Or to a federal court.
no, not necessarily.
That's not how it works.
Not necessarily. No, but he could appeal it and take it up the chain in New York because right now he's in the lowest court in New York, but they got
The
an appellate court and
court.
then they have a state it's not called the Supreme Court there, but they have a highest level court there that he can appeal these.
And then
so
he can't appeal after that.
No, it depends. To take it to the Supreme Court of the U.S., he would need some kind of standard to get in there. You can't just go to the Supreme Court of the United States because you want to. That's not an easy thing to do. And the Supreme Court hears so few cases. Now, they are going to make some rulings. The Supreme Court hasn't yet, but they are going to make some rulings on his presidential immunity claims and stuff like that.
What does that mean?
So some of his communications and other things that he did while he was president are being used against him, and acts that he did when he was president. And he's saying, well, I had immunity at that time. There is presidential immunity. I don't know enough about it to tell you whether it should have applied or not applied. But, I personally think all of these, this is such a bad time for American politics because all these charges against him are politically motivated. And guess what? If he wins, guess what he's going to do? Because he's vindictive. He's going to go after all these people. And now we're weaponizing the Department of Justice, and I think that's wrong. I don't think they should be doing it to him, and I don't think he should do it if he wins. Because if he wins, he's going to go after everyone.
Didn't Obama do it against him? He weaponized the FBI?
He weaponized the FBI, but never to this extent. Never.
This is political.
It's never been as politicized as it's ever been. And this is
Could this be considered election tampering?
Maybe, and I bet you Trump goes after Biden for it if he wins. Who knows?
Or Biden's handlers.
It's all about It's all about who's in control.
Is Trump really the best candidate to be in office? Will he get anything done since so many people hate him in Congress and in the House? I mean, is he? I mean, there's
hate
people,
allegedly.
There's people that love him. There's people that hate him. But if he gets elected, will he be able to get anything done with so much hate in the
with so much divide?
Man, he really is one of those guys who's like you love him or you hate him, and there's so few people who fall like in the middle ground. I think he'll have trouble getting stuff done.
That's what I'm saying.
Unless they sweep the House and the Senate, the Republicans. But he's got a lot of Republicans that don't like him either.
Yeah,
which is a problem.
Yeah.
But I think he has such a huge following on a national level that if he weighs his influence into lower level elections, like congressional elections,
which he has done,
he has, and he's allowed. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. He can weigh his support one way or the other, but. I think a lot of people vote with him. Someone in the House or Senate votes with him because they're scared he'll get them out on reelection.
Yeah.
But I think we'd be best off with a president that is not in the same party as who controls the two houses of Congress. That's the best way for this country because you don't want things to move too fast. You don't want laws to change too fast.
Yeah.
You don't want things to happen too rapidly. So when Clinton was president, things were great because we had a Republican Senate, Republican Congress, and then we had a Democratic president. So you could get stuff done, but not on a rapid change level. If you had a Democrat, like Obama had it once, he had a Democratic president, he was Democrat, and a Democratic House, Democratic Senate, they can do whatever they want. There's no stopping.
Is that when Obamacare came out?
That's when the second, I think it was Obama's second term, yeah. And there was no stopping. They just, even though, 150 million people were against it in this country. 155 million were for it, and therefore it happens. And that's our system. It's a great system. It's got flaws. They all have flaws. I don't think there's any perfect system out there.
No, I mean, you said the Clinton and there was two Republicans kind of evened out everything.
Yeah, because there has to be compromise.
It happened with Bush, one of Bush's terms too. He had two Democratic houses, and then he was a Republican. So you just can't. There's checks and balances. That's what it was supposed to be, and it was never supposed to be that one person had too much power.
Honestly, I don't know how Bush got elected. Bush Jr. I really don't know.
Going against Al Gore, man. Has there been a bigger fraud in this country than Al Gore?
No, probably not.
Yeah.
Al Gore invented the internet. Did you hear?
Yeah, I don't believe any of these global climate change people who are flying around on their private jets constantly. Either, then listen, there's climate change going on. I'm not denying that, but you can't tell me that I need to do my part when you're flying on your jet constantly. Let's who has a bigger footprint on this. That's like Taylor Swift spoke about it, like the climate change stuff.
And she's got three jets.
You got three jets flying around the whole world constantly. If you want to do your part, do these remote concerts or something like that. But come up with something. Don't talk to me about me driving my truck 20 miles a day when you're flying. You know how much jet fuel those planes take?
No clue.
Google that one time. How much jet fuel it takes to fly an international flight. It's thousands of gallons.
You know, she's not, and with her jets, it's not only her flying, but she's also chartering like Travis Kelce wherever the fuck he wants to go.
Well, she's got to fly all her equipment and stuff like that, all her crew. And listen, I'm not knocking Taylor Swift. She's a Pennsylvania girl, so therefore I like her. I'm a Pennsylvania guy. My daughter loves her. So if my daughter
like blondes.
If my daughter ever heard this, she would curse me out. And I think Taylor Swift's great, to her staff. I think she gave like $100,000 bonuses to all of her staff.
She better. She made $1 billion, and all she gave was $100,000.
Well, she gave $100,000 to like 200 people. Though.
Okay, what is that?
200,000.
No, it's more than.
No, 200 million.
It's 20 million.
20 million.
There you
That's
go.
all she could foot after making $1 billion.
I mean,
damn, she's cheap as fuck. Shake it up.
Yeah.
Shake it. That's not even allegedly cheap as fuck.
Well, I wonder if she gifted it to him or bonused it to him because
bonuses are taxed even more.
Bonuses are taxed more, but a gift is not. A gift is taxed by the person who gives the gift.
Oh, really?
So if I give you, but you get a lifetime exemption, she would have been way over it. But
if he gives us a Pappy Van Winkle bottle,
when he gives us a Pappy Van Winkle bottle,
Christian,
you'll get to claim your $2 million lifetime exemption or whatever it is, though. But I learned about that in law school, and it was very surprising to me. So if I let you live in say I'm already past my lifetime exemption, and I let you stay for free in my house, technically I have to pay taxes on that.
What you called it a lifetime what?
Exemption. You get
exemption.
A certain amount
exemption for what?
For
gifts?
Gift tax exemption. So and estate tax, there's a lifetime exemption on the estate tax and stuff like that.
No, estate tax is only if you don't have a trust, correct?
Certain situations.
So if you have a trust
is one way to bypass the
you don't have
tax.
an estate tax.
Yeah, it's one way to
pass.
So let's settle it now. And what's better, a will or a trust?
It depends on the situation.
Oh, really? It's all situational?
I'm not a will
Which one goes
and
to
a trust
probate?
lawyer. I'm not, a will go into probate.
A trust doesn't.
would not. But that
There you
doesn't
go.
mean
That makes it better.
It doesn't mean that a trust is better. It depends how the trust is set up.
I
It
don't see
depends
how it's
what the
not.
trust is holding versus what a will is for and what a will is set up. I think
If you're dead broke, a will. If you got money, a trust.
if you're dead broke, you don't need a will. You got nothing to give.
Well, what about the debt?
I tell it doesn't matter. It goes away. I tell people.
No, I thought the debt's passed on to
Oh,
the
it's
next
not?
of kin.
it goes to the estate, not to the next of kin. So it might. So if I had, let's say I had $100,000 in cash that goes into my estate, and I'm not a wills and estates lawyer. I'm not, but I know enough about it. If I have, let's say I have $100,000 in assets that goes into my estate, and let's say I have $90,000 in debts, then my estate would be
It's
able to distribute
$10,000.
$10,000.
Oh.
But my descendants would not owe any money. So say I had more in debts than I did in assets, they don't owe money for that. It's just gone.
So
It just
gets-
goes?
They just don't get anything out of the estate.
how do those companies write that? Well, they just write it off
Sucks
as
for
a
them.
loss.
Yeah, it sucks for
write
them,
it off
but,
as a loss.
Damn, I didn't know that. I thought they go pass
your
on to the
debt-
kids.
That's what I thought. So too.
No. So my kids would never inherit my debts. Now,
So your student loan
but if
debt,
let's say I had $1 million in assets, right, when I died, but I had $3 million in debts. Well,
They
then my
would take
kids
it
aren't
off.
getting any of the $1 million.
Yeah, they're not getting
So they are getting a hit,
Yeah,
but they
they're
wouldn't personally owe the
Owe the
$2 million.
$2 million.
Difference. So now a trust, and you'd have to speak to a trust lawyer for this. Some of those things and how debts are handled could affect the trust negatively, where you wouldn't want to do that. So it's very specific. You got to talk to a trust lawyer if you're ever going to do that kind of stuff. I think family trust, living trust, they're good. For a lot of things.
irrevocable trust.
Irrevocable trust. There's certain trusts that aren't taxable, spendthrift trusts and stuff like that. But those are very specific things. You got to talk to a trust lawyer for that. My advice is, if you're interested in it, go talk to somebody who specializes in that.
Yeah. And how much is it, do you think, ballpark it to set up a trust?
$7,000.
It depends on what
I
you're
was
doing.
quoted.
Yeah. Depends on what you're doing with the trust,
Yeah.
what you're putting in it, how much stuff you're putting in it. Who is it? A family trust? Is it a spendthrift? Are you putting property into it? Are you putting real estate property into
Well,
it? Or
you
just
would probably put all your assets
Yeah,
into
right?
that trust because it protects it.
putting all your eggs in one basket? I mean, is it a
Yeah,
trust
but-
that can be sued?
No,
Why?
because everything under that trust, I don't know.
Trust-
I'm not a lawyer. So.
Trusts are ways to get around taxes. They're not a way to get around liability necessarily. So I got everything.
But
in
it
that-
is an extra layer of protection.
So say it can be. That's why you got to get it set up right. So say I put all my stuff in my trust, and my trust owns my car, right? And I hit somebody with my car. All right. Well, the trust is the owner.
Well, see,
and in Florida, you can sue the
So
owner
here it is.
of the vehicle. So
So
now
here-
that trust is open.
So
to
here
that
it is.
liability.
Here it is. the trust doesn't own the car. An LLC owns the car, and the trust owns the LLC. So they got to pierce this corporate veil, the LLC, before they even get to the trust. So it's layers of protection.
Can the trust own an LLC? Can an LLC own the trust?
No.
Can the trust own an LLC?
Yes, it can.
Yeah,
yes,
no, that I know.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. You'd have to look at that.
So you sue the LLC. If all the LLC has is a truck, I mean, that's it. That's all you get.
If it's set up if the LLC is set up just to own the truck, you might be able to pierce that corporate veil as a fraudulent, not fraudulent, but there's ways to pierce the corporate veil.
Are you telling me LLCs can't own vehicles?
Oh, they can, absolutely. They can.
Yeah.
You get to sue the LLC, but if the LLC is set up just to own that vehicle, just for that purpose, and not for a legitimate business purpose, you might be able to get through that corporate veil.
Oh, really?
So again, I would speak to the trust attorney.
Gotcha. All right, guys, and thank you for listening to the Happy Hour Holidays. And
Like, comment, subscribe.
Yeah, like, comment, and subscribe. Check us out on Instagram and Spotify, all that kind of social media. And then when we get back, we'll talk a little bit of U.S. Open to see who our picks are coming up.
Very exciting.
All right.
Well, we don't want to hear from a loser.
I won't be picking anybody.
Good. That's what we want to hear.
We will be chiming in Christian FaceTime to see what he thinks. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Happy Hour Holidays. We're here with Ben Stranzl.
You were about to say Brian?
No, Ben Stranzl.
How many times you get the guest name wrong, dude?
It's a
New record.
New record.
It's already been like 3
We
times.
were talking a little bit about golf outside of here, and the U.S. Open's coming up. And typically, I mean, there's a lot of gambling things that we do, and it's usually like 5 golfers. So if you had
Allegedly.
5 golfers, who would be the 5 to win the U.S. Open at Pinehurst?
Scotty Scheffler.
Who would be my 5 picks? First of all, Pinehurst number 2, fantastic course, incredibly
number
difficult.
2.
That's what they play.
You're talking about Valhalla.
No, Valhalla is where they just play the PGA.
Yeah,
Pinehurst number 2 is where the U.S. Open's at.
Oh, okay.
So they have multiple Pinehurst.
They have 10 courses there.
They have 10 courses.
Oh, that facility is unreal.
Where's
man. It's in North Carolina, and it's unbelievable. They got 10 courses. I've played 4 of them. They're fantastic. They're all unbelievable. They have 3 hotels and like 8 restaurants, and then they have a par 3 course that's under the lights and stuff like that. Pinehurst, you're looking for a golf destination. It doesn't get better than that.
I
know Bandon Dunes is good, but I have some boys who are going to Pinehurst in 2 weeks.
Hilton Head's good.
I have not played Cabot. Some of my friends have.
Oh, yeah.
I like Stream Song.
Yeah,
I would like to play Cabot Cliffs up in Canada.
Oh yeah,
that's right on the Nova Scotian cliffs up there.
So Cabot only has 1 course in the United States.
Yep,
and that is
Cabot Citrus Farms.
Yep.
Yeah.
And those guys broke off from Stream Song guys. There's a connection there with Tom Doak, and Tom Doak's the one who did Bandon. So it's a hierarchy basically of guys coming down and starting their own places, and I like it. I'm not big on the gimmicky greens. That's not something that
They are gimmicky.
Like the black course at Stream Song is like,
But
to some extent they're not fair, and they're not a test of the best skill. It's a lot of luck and
it's like almost like putt.
It's almost like putt. I love the Stream Song red and blue.
Yeah,
red
and blue.
I think black they're getting carried away with these undulations in the greens and everything like that. Give me, make it fair.
And I think it's you who said it. I'm not sure when we played. He was like, it seems like an elephant just died on the green and they just put grass over it.
Elephant graveyard.
Yeah, that'll happen, man. That will happen. Yeah. U.S. Open picks, though.
Yeah,
I mean, if you're not picking Scheffler, that's
all right.
You're stupid.
We got Scheffler.
I mean, it'd be hard. Schauffele's playing so good, and now he's got over the hump of the majors. I would put Schauffele on my list there.
Bet he doesn't make the cut.
I'll put money on that one that he makes the cut. I think Koepka is going to be difficult.
So that's 3.
This is a course built for Koepka and his game.
Yeah.
What about DeChambeau? Yeah.
I don't think that the distance gets you as much of an advantage at Pinehurst number 2 as it does in some of these other places. And if you're in a bad spot on the fairway, these greens are very difficult because they're crown greens.
What's crown greens?
Crown green means they're elevated, but then it's shaved all around.
It's like a bowl.
So instead of like having rough on the sides here and the ball rolls down and it stops in the rough, it's just fairway all around. It's shaved all around these greens, so it just rolls off and it goes down 30 yards, 40 yards.
So it's almost like a links course if you think about it.
To some extent, but it's in the pine trees, but it has links elements to it. This is one of those courses where they have like a different watering system and everything like that. It's pretty crazy. But So who I said Koepka.
You got
I do like Koepka,
Schauffele,
Scheffler. I would say Hovland, but I'm not because his short game I think will struggle here.
He's got a little bit of his
a
attitude has been like where he expects it, and I think it's kind of gotten him because he won so much money last year. This year I've seen a little bit of tempers flaring, especially at the Masters where he kind of missed I don't know, he probably would have made.
He hasn't been in his top form.
Yeah, I think he'll struggle there.
So
I'm not picking Hovland. I'm going to go with Rory.
Rory.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Rory. If his
bum.
game's on, him and Scheffler are at the top.
No.
If the two of them are on, it doesn't.
I wouldn't even.
Rory's the best driver of the ball since Tiger Woods.
I hate him, but I really like his drive is just unbelievable. He pounds it out there.
He's struggling right now at the Canadian.
Didn't he just win two?
He just won two, yeah.
Well, I mean, the first one was the Zurich.
Yeah,
one's like a little,
which isn't really a tournament.
But he still won. And
was Scheffler in the field?
No.
What
was the second one that he won? Was Scheffler in the field? No.
Yeah, he won a big one. The second one he won was the Wells Fargo. Yeah, Scheffler wasn't in the field, but it was a big.
There you go.
That's one of the majors, and that's not the majors, but it's one of their primary events.
Yeah, it's like
winning at Wells Fargo was a top field.
So that's like a Players Championship.
The hardest field of the year is not a major; it's Players.
The Players,
Masters would have to be. Oh,
no,
really?
No, because you have the historical invites and stuff like that. Guys who have locked up lifetime exemptions to the Masters.
That's true. Yeah.
The Players is the most difficult field in golf.
Why? And the defending
because you have no automatic entries. Like U.S. Open, you get guys who qualify that probably aren't as good as some of the pros.
Yeah.
You got if you won the U.S. Open 10 years ago, you're still getting into it. Same with the PGA. If you won, you get in. Plus the PGA has club pros who qualify to get in, which is great. I like those things. And the Masters has if you win, you have a lifetime exemption. Yeah. So some of those guys are playing and they have
John Daly.
And that counts. Well, he didn't win it.
No.
He beat the PGA, so he gets an exemption there.
I thought he
he won the British and the PGA. Those are his two.
Yeah, he's never won.
So he's not in the Masters, although I'd love to see what he made his Masters meal, his Champions dinner. I would love to see it. It'd be Marlboros and chicken sandwiches. Yeah.
So you got four so far.
Four so far.
Who's number 5? Throw a wild card in there.
Morikawa.
Not Morikawa.
Harman, Homa, Tagala.
No, Homa's playing bad. Not, I don't think
Aberg or Oberg.
Oberg is nasty, but he's not ready to win.
Wyndham Clark.
Right? I was debating Wyndham Clark as a repeat champion. Man, when he's on, he's on. He blew it. He blew it at the Players this year. He had it at the Players and blew it. Man, I'm between. I know. I can't believe the thing went. I'm between Wyndham Clark and Justin Thomas.
You like Justin Thomas?
He hasn't.
I think he started to come back in the PGA, and he's striking the ball good again. And he knows how to win a major. He knows how to come from behind.
So those are your 5?
No, I'm gonna go Wyndham Clark.
Wyndham Clark. I like Wyndham Clark pick. Yeah.
So what are your 5?
My 5 is definitely going to be Scotty Scheffler. I like Xander. I like Rory, and I really like Morikawa because he's been playing really solid.
Yes.
And then my last one would probably be I would like to throw out like a little bit of a wild card. I would say. Let me see.
Is Cam Smith playing?
Cam Smith.
I'm going to go with DeChambeau. I just, I know it doesn't fit for the thing, but he's been playing really exceptional.
He's won a U.S. Open too. Don't get me wrong.
I would go with DeChambeau.
So my 5 are Scotty, DeChambeau, Koepka.
Oh, I forgot about Koepka.
And one of the guys you said.
Xander Schauffele?
No.
Rory?
No. Who's one of the guys you said?
I said Scheffler, Schauffele, Rory,
Bryson, and Morikawa.
Okay, Morikawa.
He fell off big time at the PGA that last day.
And then the wild card. Okay, the wild card because you need.
You going Max Homa? You guys?
No, not Max Homa. Not Max Homa.
I think he just shot 80 by the way in the last tournament he played in.
Yeah. What I'm gonna go with is Nick Dunlop.
The rookie?
The rookie?
Yeah. No way.
Hey, I said wild card.
Let me ask you this.
I like Hatton.
Let me ask you this. Terrell Hatton, he gets fired up.
Hatton's
is Nick Dunlap in the field?
Yeah, actually, he might not be in the
No, he is.
We sure of that?
I'm pretty sure.
I don't know yet.
Because he won the tournament.
Does that get you an automatic bid to the U.S. Open? I don't know about that.
Yeah, it does.
Does it?
It probably does.
Oh,
it does.
Well, they invite the top certain number of players
and the winners
in the country.
of tournaments.
The top certain number, and then they have the qualifying bids. Like I got a friend who just made it through the sectionals for the U.S. Open.
You know how many people are invited, right? Well, like 155 spots. That's yes.
No.
Yes, it is.
It's like no. Yeah.
I think it's 144.
Yeah. Have you ever thought about trying to qualify?
It might be 100.
45 maybe.
Well, no, it's going to be an even number. I'm sure of that.
Have you ever tried? Have you ever thought about?
Oh, I've tried. I've never gotten past the first round.
Really?
Because you got the sectionals, you got your locals, then your sectionals, then your regionals.
So you've done the sectionals,
the locals.
Oh, the locals.
156, bro.
Man.
Yeah,
I was wrong.
So easily dismissive.
Oh man,
I said 155. It's 156. Yeah, it's got to be an even number.
I knew 155 was wrong because it's not an even number, but I thought it was lower than that.
The women's.
So that's a lot of fucking players, man. It's a lot.
Is that's not typical for a PGA tour?
No, for the U.S. Open,
that's bigger than a normal PGA tour.
So you're going to see, the
and it's
three,
far bigger than like the Masters or the PGA. They don't have.
So you're going to see the 3 going off the front, 3 going off to 10, 1 and 10, and they're just going to be. It's going to be all day.
Let me ask you this: can you guys tell me who won the last time it was at Pinehurst number 2?
Rory. I thought it was Rory.
No.
Brooks.
No,
I don't know.
It was longer ago than Brooks.
DeChambeau?
No.
Tiger Woods?
No. I have to think of this guy's name too. I know.
Oh, so you don't even know who it is?
I know.
Stacey?
No. Oh man, he's won 2 majors, and he's the German guy. He's German.
Oh, Martin Keimer?
Martin Keimer.
Yeah. Keimer was the one that won
by like 8.
This must have been like 12 years ago or something.
I think it was in 2012. I think it was
12 years ago.
Yeah.
That was like Valhalla. It's been a while since they had. I think it was 2014. Rory had one.
They rotate courses.
Well, they rotate them, and but the U.S. Open can only be played on certain courses. They have like a very strict standard. Like Florida will never get a U.S. Open because it has to be bent grass.
Has to be what kind of grass?
It has to be a certain type of grass, not just bent. You can have hybrids of the Brent and the Kentucky Blue and stuff like that. But
has there been a U.S. Open at Pebble Creek? Where do they
Pebble Beach?
Pebble Beach.
Not Pebble Creek. Yes, Pebble Beach. Pebble Beach is on the. So they have a rotation for U.S. Open courses, and I can name a bunch of them. There's like 10.
And Pebble Beach is one of them.
Pebble Beach is one. It's and that's the most often played now. But you got Oakmont, which is my personal favorite. You got Bethpage.
Yeah.
You got the Country Club up in Boston, Massachusetts, where it just was a few years ago. You got LA Country Club. You got Congressional. Rory won there in the DC area. You got Marion East. You got, I think there's one in Michigan called Deer. Yeah, you got Pinehurst. You got Deer something in Michigan. There's one in Michigan. Then you got Pebble Beach, Torrey Pines, Los Angeles Country Club.
You already said that one.
Yeah, that one. Right. So there's about 10 to 12. Southern Hills in Oklahoma.
Yeah, the fact that you can name all those 10.
Yeah, but so those are U.S. Open courses have to be a certain length. They have to have fairways that are only a certain width. They have to have a certain type of grass on the green and a certain type of grass on the fairway. And they have to have a certain there's like a certain temperature control. That's why Florida and Texas don't get them.
Wow.
You won't see them in Louisiana. You won't see them.
I don't think Florida ever gets a major, do they?
So they used to get the PGA.
We used to get the PGA Championship?
Yeah, years ago, they used to get the PGA Championship. And I suspect it's going to come back now that they moved it to May.
Oh, okay.
Because it used to be in August. And I was like, oh,
yeah,
man,
it's going to be fucking hot.
Zero in the crowd. Zero.
What do you think about, and everybody says this, the players should be a major. The women have 5 majors. Why can't the dudes?
I don't like changing it from the 4 majors.
Yeah,
I think the players is such an importance. And I think that the PGA Tour players look at that as a 5th major.
Yeah.
And it's got its elevated status as it is. It's the next after the majors. And if you ask me right now, Ben, would you rather win the British Open or the Players? I would debate on that. I'd probably take the Players.
Do you think it's because you're local? Well, you're not local to Florida, but I mean, you've been living in Florida for a while.
Yeah, it's not just that. First of all, it's more money. I think you win more money for the
let me
Players
ask you
than any
another
of the other
question.
ones.
Would you rather win the British Open at St. Andrews, or would you rather win the Players at TPC?
Probably
Soccer?
British at St. Andrews.
Yeah,
Plus,
yeah.
imagine drinking the beers out there.
Bro. Yeah, you know that's the first golf course ever, right?
Yeah.
Back in 1556.
I think Brookline, the country club in Massachusetts, is the first one in America, I think. Or first 18-hole one in America. Let me ask you guys this. You win the Masters, right?
Yeah.
What's your champion's dinner the next year?
Yellow rice, black beans, and mojo roast pork with empanadas to start, ham croquettes, and for dessert, a sundae, banana split.
Solid.
Hooters fried pickles.
Hey, John Daly.
Fried pickles, okay, with buffalo shrimp.
Are you being serious?
Traditional wings.
Oh,
Yeah, hell
my
yeah.
God.
No?
I think it was Sandy Lyle did the haggis
The haggis?
in the 80s, and the haggis, you know, that's like the intestines.
Yeah,
It's supposed to be horrible.
Sheep
I think he was trying to get everybody sick.
That's what it sounds
It was
like.
a goal. I personally, I'm doing chicken parm. I have these guys make a good chicken parm.
What kind
with
of pasta?
I mean,
Angel hair?
no, not angel. Come on.
You're supposed to do
Do I
it
look
with
like a
angel-
person that would eat angel hair like that? No, I'm going with a rigatoni.
Rigatoni.
Yeah, or a penne,
Oh.
maybe. I'm going with a bruschetta appetizer.
Oh, I like
maybe,
bruschetta.
Bruschetta and some caprese
Oh,
appetizer.
okay.
Yeah,
I'm
and then I'm going with
actually,
some good red wines. You know,
Yeah.
I like Tigers when you get the cheeseburger and milkshakes.
Yeah, I saw that.
So somebody
was
has
the
done
first
it.
His
one
big
he
one
won.
is fajitas. He's done fajitas twice.
Really?
He made the good fajitas up there.
He's won the Masters, what, five times?
4 or 5 times. Yeah. Might have been
Jeez.
5, yeah.
I don't think. Do you ever think he'll win another event, or you think he's done?
I think he can win.
I mean, maybe in the senior tour.
I think he
but-
can win the Palmer Invitational in Orlando.
Bay Hill.
Yeah. Because he's won it like 7 or 8 times.
I honestly think he will win another major. I think he needs
Really?
to.
There's
I
no
think he
way.
needs to change his preparation to, you know, because they said at Valhalla that he shot 62 the day, like on Wednesday or something. I know there's no pressure that day,
Did
but,
he have a golf cart?
but he's still striking the ball. He needs to stop with the weightlifting, and
I know, man.
you see me like you can't move.
Yeah, he can't move.
Go to stretching, go to the calisthenics, go to something like that, and you know, start chasing women again because you were best when you were living that life.
But
But isn't he right now? He's single.
Yeah, he
he
just
is.
had that bad breakup with that
Yeah,
girl.
yeah, where
Yeah,
he
yeah.
had to say, "Hey, we're going on vacation."
Oh, by the way, you're going somewhere else.
But with Tiger, I mean, why doesn't he just drive a golf cart? Because John Daly in the PGA Championship, he was driving a
I don't
golf
think
cart.
he wants it. I don't think he wants it.
But
He-
that's
he-
the only way it's gonna happen, bro. Because there's no way this old guy with like fucking 15 surgeries is gonna be able to win another tournament if he has to walk 72 holes.
I think he can. I think he can.
You
I think
think?
he needs to change his preparation. You know, I think he needs to get off the weightlifting. He's talked before about being addicted to the weightlifting and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I don't know why.
Just-
He's big enough.
his traps
That's
are
what I'm
fucking huge.
You don't need to be able to bench 350 to play anymore.
No.
Look at Justin Thomas and these guys just kill the ball.
Yeah, I mean Justin Thomas is a prime
And he's
example.
a short guy, Justin Thomas.
Yeah, he's short and skinny.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
I
mean
mean, that's
that-
not a knock on him. He's in good. You know, I'm not knocking him. I mean, he's done a lot to
Yeah,
get his
yeah.
club head speed up. But like, yeah. I'd like to see that guy try and qualify for the U.S. Open, but he said he won't do it anymore.
Who?
Bruner.
Oh, Bruner.
Yeah.
Hey, calling you out, Brad. Qualify.
I talked to him a couple weeks ago about it. I don't know why not, man. We got.
Why didn't he try?
I don't know. He's got
You
the
saw-
wife
you
and
saw
kids
him
now.
yesterday.
Yeah, I saw
I
him
mean,
yesterday.
Yeah.
Did he say that he was trying?
No, I mean I didn't come across my mind to ask him that, but
Because we looked him up. He's a plus 5 or 6.
Yeah.
I've played
on
with him.
gym.
Yeah, he's a +7 actually. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just ridiculous. I got a friend, Bo Titsworth, who just made it through the sectionals. So we'll see if he makes it.
Titsworth.
Great name.
Well,
Bo.
what's
Real
that?
name, we call him Bo Titties.
So after sectionals, they're in the
Regionals, and then the regionals. If you make it through regionals, you go to the U.S. Open.
So all he has to do is place like
remember
top
10
three.
Cup? 10 Cup did it,
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. He did with a 7-iron.
and a shovel.
Well, Ben, we'll really appreciate you coming on again, man. As a repeat offender, you'll never get that Pappy Van Woodcoll, and we're going to beat your ass next time we play.
I appreciate the invite. I look forward to the Pappy.
But there's still 2 minutes left. You want to leave our audience with any last words or anything that you would like
Any
to say?
motivation,
Uh,
like you just want to beat
life
I'll
lessons?
give my best Joe Dirt quote, man. You just got to keep on keeping on. Listen to the podcast, listen to these guys, listen to who they put on here, and don't take life too seriously.
I like
That's
it.
right. Life's too short.
Every day is a new day. Every day is a day to be happy.
Yeah. No, it is, man.
Well,
Well,
remember, you can't be buried with it, so you might as well spend it.
You can't win a golf match against Manny unless you're out there playing him.
In which case, you'll win every
You
time.
will win. You will win.
all right, time to turn the conversation to make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for listening. As always, Holidazers, check out our Instagram for Friday features, all our episodes. We put the best clips out there for our audience, and really appreciate you tuning in. Happy Hour Holidays. Keep listening. Peace out.